the name of we've changed it from Katakyie Business Forum to AkataSlopsa, Pokuai and St. Louis All Students Association. So that's the platform that's going to be. This is the name that we're going to use for subsequent ones. So the whole idea going forward is that every time we have a topic, we'll pick one Katakyie and then we'll pick one Slopsan, and then we'll see whether we can get an industry expert who may be non-Katakyie to also share his ideas with us. So that is the format concept now. Okay. So I would like to officially welcome everybody to today's event. And then our topic for today is basically Entrepreneurship 101, proving strategies that work. And then the whole idea really is to learn so much. And luckily for us, and because this is the first forum for this year, we felt that we needed to get somebody who could start us off very well. And we're so lucky and fortunate to have gotten one of the most sought after individuals in this country. Unfortunately, a lot of people do not know him. And let me just give this background information. When I raised the issue of asking him if he could grace our event as the guest speaker, the first thing he said, hello, David, you know, I'm a very busy person. I try to, but you know, there are lots of because of COVID and school and blah, blah, blah. And then I almost gave her that. He asked, oh, so what platform? Then I said, oh, it's an old students platform. He said, oh, okay, anyway, what school is that? And then I said, oh, Pokuai. I said, oh, Pokuai school, Katakyie, please, whatever it is, I'm going to make sure I join. I don't know why. Later I got to know why. I'm sure he's going to share that with us. So I think we are not only privileged to have Prof speaking to us, but I think the name of Pokuai School and Katakyie, some way, somehow seems to have an impact on him. And I'm sure he'll tell us the truth. We're also very lucky to have one of our young top entrepreneurs in Ghana who's been doing fantastically well for years. And that he's also on this platform. For those who may not know, he's a very quiet, nice guy. You hardly know who he is, but I'm sure when I mention his product, everybody knows him. Of course, we're talking about yes, he's a household name, and he controls a big chunk of that particular industry, and the market share in that industry in this Ghana and even beyond. In West Africa, I understand they open a few companies in other countries. I'm not going to go through everything, but, and of course, our last speaker will be our own Slopsan, Mabel. Mabel is also doing very wonderful in the agribusiness, and then she has a lot to share with us. She's an expert when it comes to fish farming and using fish to do a lot of things. So basically, these two gentlemen and lady are going to share their entrepreneurial journey with us. But Prof will first of all school us on entrepreneurship. And then he will use his school, his life, his experience as a case study to reinforce or forcibly let us understand what entrepreneurship is all about. Now, my name is David Osei Jr. I'm the Vice President of the Global Katakyie, and then I'm your host. So without wasting my time, if you look at the format, it's going to be very simple. We'll have like I'm doing, we're going to introduce the speakers, which I've done, and then the speakers will have 15 minutes, except Prof. Atuahene, who will have 20 minutes. If he wants to go more, we are prepared to give him more time. And then after that, we'll round up their presentations, and then we'll come to the Q&As, and then we'll round up. We always try to make sure that we don't go beyond the 2-hour mark. And I have a feeling this one is going to be very exciting and very interesting because I've realized there are a lot of non-Katakyie on this platform, and I know why, simply because of Prof and then our speakers. So, ladies and gentlemen, our speakers, welcome to this platform. I also like to take the opportunity to thank everybody who is tuning so far to listen to us and then listen to our wonderful presenters today. I want to assure you that, like they say in the churches, you will never leave here the same. Something's going to happen to your life. Please take pen and paper and make sure you write down whatever you're going to learn today. I know, I don't know Mabel too well, but I know Katakyie, Osei, Kwaku very well, and I know Prof too very well. Incidentally, I've been Prof students when he brought SIPs to Africa. I was part of the first cohort, and I'm actually part of his first cohort, a doctorate in business leadership. So I know him very well. So anything that he touches, we know what it is. I don't want to go too much, but I'll just try and explain. I mean, just give a quick introduction of what is achieved. And I also play a small video for people to understand what is achieved. You know, sometimes when you say a professor, people tend to look at only the academia and then what you've done. But we are very fortunate he's been in academia and then he's also been in industry and his practice. He's done so many things for different companies, consulted for so many companies. And eventually he's decided to do something for Africa, not only Ghana. So if you look at his introduction, Prof is Africa's most decorated scholar. He's ranked in the top 2 of all scientists in the world, not just Ghana. And in Ghana, he's ranked the #1 scientist by the European Union based on the number of Google citations. So basically, people have been citing him for everything. He writes a lot. And then he's also ranked world #2 innovation management scholar in the world. World #2 innovation management scholar in the world. Not Accra, not Ghana, not Africa. He is also ranked among the top 3 doctoral marketing faculty in marketing management and strategy outside North America. He's ranked among the top 10 doctoral marketing faculty in the world. He's ranked among the top 20 scholars worldwide in the most citation in entrepreneurial literature. He is also the founder and president of Nobel International Business School, Africa's premier doctoral school. And then, of course, he brought SIPS into Africa and in Ghana. He set it up. And SIPS is one of the most successful business schools in Africa now. He brought the whole concept, he ran it, make sure it was good. And then I think SIPS has graduated over 200 students, 200 business students. So you can understand, executive business can understand the impact that this man has had on Africa. And in SIPS, it wasn't just only Ghanaians, Nigerians, Sierra Leone, yes, Ivorians, South Africans, a lot of people who come to Ghana specifically because of SIPS. And then he decided finally, he was also chair of the marketing faculty in SIPS. So basically what it means that when you go to the marketing department of faculty in China Group International Business School in SIPS in China, and China, SIPS is #1 business school in Asia. When you go to that marketing department, he is the chair. So basically he's the main person over there. That's what that means. And what I want to say is that sometimes when you say somebody's a professor and all that, people tend to think that, oh, he teaches and he's also a practitioner. And I'm going to play a video for all of us to see what he has done for us in Africa. Where's this video? Okay, let me share screen first. So basically, there's something we call physical evidence. I'm sure we all know that. Oh my God. Okay. So share desktop. Okay. Something is not playing right on my system. Okay, gentlemen, just give me a few seconds. I will come to that. Okay, so he also has, he has the first doctoral school in the world, not just in Ghana or Africa. I'm trying to play the video so that everybody has a clear idea what we mean by that. Let me just sign on to another platform and then I use the screen over there. Of course, we also, 1 second, everyone. Prof, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Maybe we'll start and anytime you get a chance, you can do it.
To stand on. Maybe you can start and then I will come back. Okay, so yeah, I will come back and show. Basically, I just want everybody to see the school that this gentleman has put up in Ghana, Africa, and in the world for doctoral students so that we all have a clear idea what he's brought so far. Okay, I'll come back later on. So, Prof, you take over, and then we'll see what we do.
Thank you very much.
So, Prof, this is the platform, the Katakyie Business Forum, and then we've been eagerly waiting for you, and we believe that we'll be blessed today, like I say in the chat. Thank you very much, Prof. The floor is yours. Thank
you very much. That was, a mind-boggling introduction. So I'm not sure whether I can do justice to, all the things that you said about me. Thank you very much. Now, before I start, I would like to acknowledge a few people, including Osei, who invited me. There's one alumnus from our school who is part of you. I don't know whether he's on the panel now. He's Dr. John Kuma, the MP for Ibidun. He's one of our students, alumni. I want to acknowledge him. Unfortunately, we have lost one of your colleagues, and that is Philip Asare, who died just a few weeks ago. My condolences to all of you and to his family. He was actually my student. I was supervising him, and he was doing a great job. In fact, he was almost done with his thesis, but unfortunately, we lost him. So I need to acknowledge him and his family for the loss. Mercy Gardner, Dr. Mercy Gardner is among you today from St. Louis. She is one of our first graduates from our school, and currently the president of the Alumni Association. So if she's here, I want to acknowledge her. And what I'm going to do is just to give you a few tips, because I understand the topic is Entrepreneurship 101, and also use examples from my own business as to illustrate some of the points that I'm going to make. Now, I'm not going to take kind of be a lecture. I want us to have a discussion. So when I do speak and you have a question, please come in and let's discuss it rather than me talking too long. And we got only 20 minutes. Now, I'm not going to use slides, but I just want to ask first a few questions, because I understand all of you are in business. Some of you are top business executives and all that. Possibly you might have answers to the questions that I'm going to ask you. Now, if you were asked, a company should build a competitive advantage to beat the competition, what would be your answer? True or false? Anyone to answer that question for me?
True.
A company should build competitive advantage to beat the competition. True or false?
True.
True.
True. In fact, my research shows that 92% of executives say this statement is true. Let's take another one. I'm just going to give you only 3. Every customer will only be satisfied with a product or service that is of high quality, reliable, durable, or error-free. True or false?
False.
False.
False. Any more? That's very good. In fact, my research shows that 46% of people say this is false. Unfortunately, 54% say this is true. Differentiating your product or service from competition is best achieved by adding new tangible features. True or false?
True.
True. How many says true? Oh, well, I can't do a survey now. But this actually is false. Almost 70% of executives say this is true. And all the answers to these 3 statements are false. I got about 15 of them, which I normally would use to discuss these kind of points relating to Entrepreneurship 101. I say that these are the common sense perceptions in entrepreneurship. And most of them, in fact, all of them are false. Now, let us try to understand why these are false and what the implications are for entrepreneurship, either when you're thinking of starting a business or when you are in a company and you want to take up an entrepreneurial activity. There's a gentleman called M. Prost, and he says this: the real magic of discovery lies not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. Right? In other words, if you're an entrepreneur, the key is to have a new eye to see different things. And I go on to say this, that the real magic of entrepreneurship or innovation is seeing the same things everybody sees, but thinking differently. In other words, what entrepreneurship is about is really about opportunity recognition, discovering something. But you don't discover things by just looking at new landscapes. That, in particular in our part of the world, in Africa, where companies have limited technology and all that, these can be very, very difficult to do. For example, looking for new technology and things like that. This can be very difficult to do. So what you need to do is to look at the same things people are seeing, the current landscapes, and look at it from a different perspective. And to me, that is the best way of discovering new opportunities for entrepreneurship. Now visualize this. I just want everyone to visualize what I'm normally, I will show a picture of this, but just visualize this. You see a person stretching, and trying to get something from a high shelf, right? We all visualize that, right? You see the person is stretching, he's standing on his or her toes and stretching, right? If I ask you, if you visualize it and I ask you, what does the person need? Anyone? Anyone to answer that question? I want this to be interactive, right? So that I don't talk all the time.
They need a spotter.
He needs a what?
A spotter, somebody to stand behind and tell them where to go. Which
no,
direction.
he can see. The shelf is very high, and maybe there's a parcel on it, right? So he's trying to stretch and get it. You get the scenario?
He needs either a ladder or a step stool.
Exactly.
Okay, so he needs a ladder or a chair to stand on, right? Very good.
Or he may need just a smaller shelf that has the item right within reaching level.
Very good. Very good. Now, these are the common answers students give everywhere, executives everywhere I've taught entrepreneurship. These are the answers they give. But look at it very carefully here. The answers you've just given are actually describing products and services, right? He needs a small chair or a shorter shelf or whatever, right? These are, what we call the instruments to actually deliver what the person really needs. Now, having said this, what do you think the person really needs? Let's go back to the question. What does the person really need?
The item they are reaching for.
Very good. The person actually needs to reach and get that item. That's what his need is, right? And it's a problem for him. And so in trying to solve the problem, you are saying we have to provide a ladder or a shorter shelf or whatever. You get a difference? So from an entrepreneurial angle, using a different eye, we all see the same thing, but the entrepreneur is now thinking differently. So the entrepreneur says, no, the person doesn't need a ladder. The person doesn't need a chair to stand on. What the person needs is actually to get what he wants, that parcel on the shelf. You get a point. So the inability of the person to reach this particular parcel is the problem that we need to solve. That is his real need. So we say a need is a verb, right? Trying to reach something, trying to get something, trying to get an outcome. A need is a verb. But the solution to the problem, right? The solution to the problem then becomes the value. Did you get a point? Becomes the value. This is critical Because sometimes we think that the product itself is the value, the service itself is the value. No. The service is an instrument, the product is an instrument to solve this problem. So the solution of the problem is the value, right? In other words, what we are saying is that the solution being the ladder or the instrument is actually a noun, right? So a ladder or chair or whatever. So if we make these two key distinctions, what we have here is that we can always look at what people are doing and see the things or the problems they are trying to solve as an opportunity for entrepreneurship. Do you get my point? Let me give you an example. You know, I've been in academia for a long time. And when I decided to set up this school, and the reason why I decided to set up NIBS as a doctoral school, not an undergraduate school or whatever, as a doctoral school, is that I saw a need for this. In Nigeria, in Ghana particularly, I saw a need for it because I saw back in 2008, 2009, thereabouts, I saw a lot of executives, you know, buying actually unaccredited degrees and then putting their names in the newspaper and saying that they've got a doctorate. You all saw that, right? Many of you have seen this before, right? So that set me thinking, what is the problem here? What are people trying to achieve with this? Now, they see an image attached to this. They see some kind of reputation attached to this. But maybe because of their inability to be able to solve that problem, they take, you know, what we call in innovation, we call compensating behaviors. They take the kind of the line of weakness in order to say they got doctorates. But in the end, we know that they are fake doctorates, right? So what you really need to do as an entrepreneur is to be able to see these differences that are happening when you see people doing certain things and then interpret that into what we call a customer discovery. So that is the core reason why I thought there was a need for this. And you can imagine that if you want to really solve this problem, you have to navigate problems in order to do that. For example, in our country, I have to navigate the Nile. And one of the questions that were asked of me is that, you know, you haven't even done undergraduate. How can you start a doctorate school, right? So you have to then go through a process of trying to convince the regulators and other people, you know, so discovering the need is not the what do you call it, you know, the end of it, right? It's actually the beginning of all the problems you're going to face as an entrepreneur. So you have to convince people that, and in my case, I said, look, I've graduated 15 doctorates around the world. So why do I have to start undergraduates to prove my caliber as a person that can supervise a doctorate, right? And I'm going to get, you know, people around the world that are really, really good at supervising students at a doctoral level. So we can actually start the school without having gone through undergraduate. We've done that throughout our careers as academics, right? So note that the customer will not pay for the product. You know, sometimes this is very difficult for people to understand because actually, of course, on the face of it, customers actually pay for the product, right? They get it and they pay for it. But what they are actually paying for is the instrumental ability of the product to solve the problem. That's what they are paying for. So in some cases, they say customers will hire the product to do this, to do something, right? To solve the problem, right? And that is what customers pay for. And that is why we translate value into, you know, the solution to the problem. So for example, if you ask me, I ask executives when I'm doing it, and I ask them to define value to the customer. And some people will say price minus this and that. Customers are not economists. They don't talk about utility and all those kind of things, right? What customers talk about is what something helps them to do. I'm trying to achieve this, and if you help me to do that, then I see what you have given me as valuable. So I define value in terms of customer perspective as a solution that removes the frustrations, the impossibilities, the constraints, the bottlenecks, you name it, from the customer's life in trying to achieve something. right? In trying to meet a need, just like a ladder, right? Now, you will notice also as an entrepreneur that this need, this verb that we just talked about, is not only functional, can be also emotional. In particularly with respect to our business school, the need is not functional. People don't want a degree and just a degree for its sake. No, that's not what they want, right? The learning and the skills that they get are very important. But what they really need is leaving a legacy, helping to discover something new, and people saying, well, look at this guy. He went to graduate school and he's published this research and he goes to conferences talking about, and what he's actually been able to discover has helped me to do my business in a better way and all that. That is the emotional aspect of it. And so it is a mistake for us usually to think of products and services as, being physical things. And that's why I asked that question. Customers like differentiating your product based on tangible features. No, you can actually look at the emotional side, which sometimes are even stronger differentiators for entrepreneur than the physical side, right? Now, the other thing that you have to really grasp is this. If a need is a verb, right, then competition may not be somebody who is producing your own product. Typically when I ask executives, who is your competitor? A banker will say another bank. A school will say another school. Now that's obvious. That's defining the competition from the perspective of the instrument. In other words, the product, right? But if a need is a verb, then the competition may not be in your industry. And that is why I asked the question, competition, set up the business to beat the competition. And most people say, yes, that is not true, right? If you ask the bankers, the reason why a lot of bankers are having problems now that they couldn't see a competitor coming. Why? Because they consider other banks as competitors. And these competitors do the same thing, obviously, right? But the fintechs and all those people with these different business models that are actually, taking the bank's business away, these are not in the same industry, at least previously. Now the banks are, forming joint ventures and alliances with these fintechs and all that, right? In order to cooperate. But the question is that they couldn't see them. Why? Because they thought their competition is in the banking industry. Why? Because they think competition is defined based only on the product or the service that they deliver, right? But if you look at a need as a verb, then anyone who will be able to produce that instrument from any industry could be your competitor, right? Could be in the competition. You know that a lot of firms have gone broke or disappeared from the landscape, right? Why? Because a lot of businesses from different industries actually came into those industries with totally different business models and technologies to overcome them. So the moment we say that a need is a verb, then competition cannot only be a company producing the same product or instrument like you, right? So from this perspective, how do you discover customers or opportunities as an entrepreneur, right? Use new eyes. Yeah, see the same thing other people see, but think differently. Look for compensating behaviors, like the fake degrees I spoke about, people buying fake degrees and all that, right? Look for compensation behaviors. Now, use analogical reasoning. Now this is a big word, but simply what it says is that you can see a solution in a specific industry or specific phenomenon in a particular environment, and then utilize the same principles into a different environment. Just let me give you a quick example here. And by this example, I'm giving you a business idea, and I hope somebody would take it on and actually do it, right? And the reason why I'm saying this, I'm going to give the idea away, is that we all know from the entrepreneurship literature and the innovation literature that ideas are cheap, right? Execution is the most important thing. So a lot of ideas are around, but people cannot implement it, right? So I'm just going to give this idea again. A few weeks ago, I was reading the newspaper, and I saw a Ghanaian newspaper, the Daily Graphic, and I saw a story. And the story is that a lady or a student, I think it's a lady, right? A student at one of the Ghanaian universities. It's a very, very bright student. I think it's a background noise. This student cannot pay her fees. So some philanthropists, 2 of them or 3 of them, I think the story was put in the Daily Graphic to solicit for funds. And the news story was that this student has got enough money to go to school, right? Now, this is just a story, right? Everybody reads this. And what people will say is, oh, lucky student or good philanthropist, God bless you, and all those kind of stuff, right? But I saw a different thing. Why? Because I'm using new eyes to see the story. I saw a different thing. And all I saw was, well, there's a business opportunity here. First, there are a lot of Ghanaian students who are very bright who don't have money to go to school. 2, there are a lot of people who want to invest, like these people. I see these 2 or 3 people paying the school fees as actually investing in the lady's future. So there could be thousands of millions of people who have money, who, given the right description of a person, they'll be prepared to actually invest in that student. 3, there's opportunity that if this student is that good, right, and when she finishes school, if you provide certain opportunities, there's a company out there who'll be able to employ this person. 4, it is possible that going to school, there could be problems, maybe health or whatever. So there could be the necessity for insurance of this person, right? Even normal schools, they do insure them, right? So if you put these ingredients together and you think as an entrepreneur, you got a business model that you can run, right? And where did I get this from? How did I see this thing? I used analytical reasoning. And I use analytical reasoning because I've done a case of a company called Farm Crowdy in Nigeria. The first company that used to develop the digital model of financing farmers. So what they do simply is exactly what I've explained in the case of the student. What they do, the case study shows that very successful case. If you have a chance, please read about it. And now there are a lot of copiers going on in Nigeria and even in Ghana. Now, what they do is that they identify good farmers, right? And then describe the farmers and then, their age, their farm size, and all those kind of stuff. And then build a digital platform. So they put these farmers there as products, let's say, as products, and they ask investors to look at each one of these farmers and see which one of them would they want to invest in. And they have categories of investment, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, or whatever, right? Now, why do they do that? They know there are a lot of people who are interested in agriculture, also want some investor money, but do not have the time to actually do it themselves. So they use their money for this. So these investors, they promise them some, I think it's 30% or something, which is far, far better than your average investment in banking or other things. 30% in 11 months. I actually invested in my money in one of them, right? And then they have guaranteed off-takers, so that when the harvest comes, they have supermarkets or whatever companies that are prepared to buy these products at a certain price. And they have the Nigerian Agricultural Company, which also invests all the farmers and all that. And they sit in the middle and they orchestrated this business model like a wheel. Now, what I'm saying here is that, is it possible you can transfer this into this student situation, where you can get companies that are prepared to hire these students when they finish university, an insurance company to insure their life and all that, to have good schools to go to. The students will end up paying no fees, guaranteed job after that, right? So this is a quick example of using analytical reasoning to see an opportunity when everybody sees just a philanthropic activity. Now, one of the things that entrepreneurs have to look for is what we call non-consumption customers. And what does that mean? Now, this is a very important concept in both entrepreneurship and innovation. Now, non-consumption customers are simply people who, for the reason of lack of skill, lack of wealth, lack of access, or lack of time, or because of tradition, do not consume certain products, right? They do not consume certain products. And for these people, because they have nothing in terms of the instrument or the product or the service, for these people, quality is relative. In other words, anything is better than nothing, right? And that's why I asked the question, every customer would need a product that is high quality or free and all that. That's not true. There are people who would buy products that they know are not good quality. For example, a lot of people buy secondhand cars, right? A lot of people buy secondhand clothing. Of course, they know they are not 100% good quality, but they buy them, right? Why? Because of what we call the SWOT reasons, meaning the lack of skill or the lack of wealth or the lack of or tradition or whatever. Now, I've spent almost 20 years in China, both Shanghai 10 years and Hong Kong 10 years, and most of my research on innovation and entrepreneurship have been in these two countries. Well, now one country, excuse me, one country. Now most firms that we know today, that are very, very strong, like firms like Tencent and firms like Xiaomi and Mindray and even Haier and Otu, all those companies emerged because they looked at things very differently with different eyes, and they saw opportunities for producing products that are not necessarily the highest of quality for non-consumption customers. So I also encourage companies and individuals in Africa, that if you look at the theory of disruption in innovation, most products, in fact, almost all products that are, now are so great and high quality and all that, started as poor products, started as inferior products, started as products that are not good quality. And then they develop by having money from non-consumption customers who buy the products cheap, and to develop their skills and technologies before they reach the mainstream market with high quality products. And I think that is a very important concept or idea for budding entrepreneurs in our part of the world. The other thing that you have to use to discover customers is to challenge different industry assumptions. For example, in the education sector, the example I gave you, starting a doctoral school without beginning with the undergraduate and all that. In other words, we come from the top, because a doctorate is the highest degree you can get, right? That means we are actually challenging the assumption in the industry, which says that every school or university has to start with undergraduate degree. That's an assumption people have accepted, which is a nonsense. Why can't you start from the top? The second assumption in doctoral education is that you have to have two steps, right? You have to have coursework first and then degree second. Now we change the assumption. We challenge the assumption that to us is nonsense. Why can't you do that two at the same time? So when you come to our school, for example, you start your degree right from day one. And the problem with the two-stage assumption is that, people don't finish the degree. They finish the coursework, which is planned with classes and all that. And then when it comes to the thesis writing, they are left on their own. There's no structure, there's nothing. So a lot of people finish the first part, they never finish the thesis itself. Even some people at EMBA or master's degree, they finish the coursework, they never finish the thesis. Because of this assumption of demarcation between the coursework and the thesis. We abolish that. The other assumption in doctoral education is that because they are researchers, they don't need research support, right? Again, it's a nonsense. Why is it that because the student is doing research, you cannot offer him or her a research assistant support, right? But that's an assumption that has been perpetrated, particularly when you're dealing with executive students who are very busy and all that. You cannot, follow that assumption. So we overcome that assumption by introducing our business model, research support for our students. So challenging industry assumptions, to me, are one of the key ways by which you can discover new students and build a new value proposition for them. I will end with, there's quite a lot on this, but I'll go in 20 minutes. I'll end by also speaking a little bit about funding, because a lot of people, I mean, when I teach entrepreneurship in schools, people say, well, okay, I got a great idea, but I don't have the money. How do I get money? And things like that. I don't want to go to the bank because they won't give you the money. Now note this first thing, banks are not set up to support startups, right? Of course, banks would disagree with this, but the risk kind of rigidity in a bank, actually kind of goes against, funding startups that are so risky, right? So one of the things you need to do, if you want to ask for money, ask for advice. If you need money, ask for it. And this is a very good advice for entrepreneurs. When you go to people and you start asking for money, they will walk you out of the door. If you need money, ask the person for advice. And when they give you advice and they become interested in your idea, if they don't have money at all, they might actually lead you to somewhere the money is. Sometimes you use the customer money. This is a very good way. I use the customer money in a very big way to set up my school. I won't say it on this platform because I don't want Osei and others to know what I did. But there are various ways, deposits and all those kind of things, subscription and all those kind of things are key ways of utilizing the customer money to do your work. But the most important thing about actually utilizing the customer's money and the customer's labor is actually transferring work to the customer. And I encourage every entrepreneur, whether you're a big firm or wherever, even in companies such as pharmaceuticals, they sometimes transfer work to the customer. So transferring work to a customer or utilizing the customer's labor, which is free, is one of the best ways of actually funding your business. For example, I used the case of KSK Vintage Winery, which is from Wittenberg in Germany, in my class with the Frankfurt School of Finance in Frankfurt, quite a lot. In fact, I invited the two entrepreneurs to actually come to class and explain their business model and all that. Now, this is a company that entered a wine industry, which is a very, very mature industry. But because they had different eyes, they saw an opportunity. They saw that, and the opportunity was quite simple. And that was that a lot of people loved the idea of actually putting their feet into the what do you call it, in the grapes and stamping on it and trying to make wine. A lot of people love that, right? Because they saw this, where everywhere you go to a winery, you have the people that come for, the customers that come for tasting, wine tasting and all that. They actually love going into the winery making space and trying to smash the grapes with their feet. So they thought, well, we're going to produce wine, but the wine we're going to produce actually is a catch. It's a magnet to bring people to have fun, right? By doing this. So they come, they buy wine, but they also help us to make the wine. So one of the ways that they did this was to use the winery as a training facility. So companies bring their workers, their managers to train them on to, help them to bond together and all that. And as part of the bonding, they do this wine making, right? And he told the students, this training aspect, bringing companies to the winery actually produces about 50% of our revenue, right? 50% of our revenue. So the model is not just about wine, but wine as a magnet to bring people to have an emotional value, which is provided by the act of actually making wine, right? In the case of NIPS.
Prof.
Yes. Final point.
I think you have a minute or two to run.
Yeah, final point. Yeah, final point.
Okay.
In the case of NIPS, we also transfer work to our students. A lot of executives have good experience, they can teach and all that, right? So as part of our model, every student in our school is supposed to teach. So for that reason, when we start our undergraduate program, all our faculty will be executives who are doing our doctorate, which means that we almost will have zero faculty cost for our undergraduate program. In other words, we're funding the undergraduate program by transferring work to our customers. So I hope this gives you kind of a 101 perspective of entrepreneurship, and I'll wait for your questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. We are very grateful. You've gone a little beyond the time. I was unable to break the flow, so
sorry.
I'm sure a lot of questions will come up during the Q&A, and you'll be able to do justice to them.
Okay, thank you.
So let's quickly go to the next speaker. That's Slopsan, Mabel, Quarshie. She is into agribusiness, and she is a top expert when it comes to fish farming and how to use the fish to do a lot of things. So Slopsan, Mabel, if you are ready, please take over.
Yes, thank you very much. I must say that I'm very blessed to be on this platform. Normally, in the Catholic settings, we say, blessed are thou amongst women, but in my case, it's blessed are thou amongst men, the only woman in the midst of men. As has been said, I'm Mabel Quarshie, and my maiden name is Slopsan. If I have two of my brothers who went to Opoku-Ware, AD 192 and AF 61. And then the other girls went to St. Louis. So it was just St. Louis and Opoku-Ware. I'm married with two children, or I should say two adults. And I finished St. Louis in 82, where I continued to do secretarial course in Archbishop Porter Girls Polytechnic in Elmina. When I finished my secretarial course, my first employer was RP Bafo and Associates. I worked with Dr. Bafo of blessed memory, and I learned a lot from him during that time. I continued at GIPC, that's Investment Promotion, Ghana Investment Promotion Center, as a secretary to the personnel. Now we say HR, but in those days we call it personnel manager and then the director of administration. Just as I was going to work as a secretary to the chief executive, it was then Mr. Kwesi Ahoy. I had the chance to join Merchant Bank. So I also continued there as a secretary. Along the line, I improved upon myself and I attained private secretary certificate. And then I went to the university as a mature student. So I entered the university as a mother, as a wife, as a student, and as a worker. It wasn't a joke, but we managed to sail through. I have some of my bosses here, Victor Asante, Alberta Kwaku is also online, and a few. Pardon me if I don't mention your name. But I work with Victor in the same department. And well, I was offered BA in admin, econs and management, which was also a very tough subject, especially with the econs. Then I continued. I had my MBA at Altus University. It's a Catholic University of Milan, but the campus was in Accra. Incidentally, the same compound as the Workers' College, where I had my bachelor's, but on the other side of the campus. And that was one of the best things that happened to me, because in order to attain admission to the course, you need to have a business idea. It's a necessary condition. And I must say that during the course of my work with Merchant Bank, because I moved from the secretarial department to to the business sector. I became an RM and I worked with a lot of SMEs. In fact, our department was like an incubation center where you grow the SMEs, and then when they become big, you transfer them to the local corporate or the big corporate department. So I had a lot of experience with SMEs. It cuts across commerce, mining, transport, agric. And you know that agric, most of the banks will not lend to agric. Most of them are shy of agric, but I had one or two agric, specifically fish farming actually. So I used to visit their farms and I got excited about the fish. You know, you see them very tiny, we call them fingerlings. And then eventually they are very big to be table-sized fish for what we eat. So when the admission letter came, the request came, it was obvious that I would use the fish as my project. So that was what we used throughout the course for the MBA in entrepreneurship. Then in 2014, I left the bank. And then we set up a company called Aquatic World Industries. We set up, I did with two of my colleagues who incidentally are now serving the Lord. So they are not too much involved in the running of they are running their now, so they are not so much involved in the running of the business. So I was left alone, more or less, with a few advice here and there. So the aquatic world was basically to do fish farming and also to train the young ones in aquaculture, because we realized that if you talk of agric, most of the interventions that come are for those who do crop farming, and maybe I say if you come to the animal side, it's poultry. But aquaculture did not have that kind of support for the young ones. So we thought that we'll set up an incubation center so that we could bring the youth, we could train them in the fish farming. And I took a course in incubation in Uganda. That is also another best thing that happened to me. So during the course of our operations as Aquatic World, we ran into a lot of challenges. I mean, so many challenges. Some of them didn't gel well with me. So we suspended operations for a while. So while thinking through what to do, I just realized that when you talk of fish farming or when you come into the aquaculture space, there is the products are very few: fresh fish, smoked fish, maybe dried fish, salted and dried fish, and that was it. But when I was training in the incubation management program, I went to Uganda and I chanced upon fish sausage. So when we suspended operations, I thought that, well, why don't I try and see whether we could introduce something new into Ghana? So I went online, I read about fish sausage. It's not too common. I mean, you find a lot of meat sausages here and there, but having fish sausage wasn't very common. But I had to read a lot, go on a lot of sites, I mean, just to get the feel of it. So I started something small in my kitchen. That's how I started this business. I didn't know anything about fish, apart from loving fish, especially the head. But when it comes to the science of it, I didn't know. So sometimes you mix and then it doesn't bind well. And then I have to call people I know for me to give me what they do with the meat and try and do the same thing with the fish. So I did a lot on it. And then I started sampling because it was a new thing on the Ghanaian market. When you talk to anybody and you say, I am into fish sausage, what they say that, what is this? Some even make some expressions on their face, which, I mean, is not even nice because they think it's something that cannot be done. So I had to process it into kebabs so that if you taste it, and then you know that, yes, this is real, this is something that it can be eaten. So I took more than a year to sample because even now I'm still sampling, because anytime I go for a new program and it's a new product, the people come and we don't know how it tastes, and I have to do sampling. So I still do sampling. But for me to get the taste and for an acceptable taste in Ghana, I have to do a lot of sampling, a lot of, and when there's a trade show, I'm there. I mean, whatever, somebody's having a party, sometimes I can donate a few just for people to try it. So we got the fish. So when I was certain that this will work in Ghana, we formed the company Aquatic Foods. And I must say that this is also another thing that we did, because fish, we know fish is healthier. So people get excited when they know that they love sausages, but they cannot eat it because it's meat. But now if we can have it in fish, why not? So it started becoming popular, and I have a lot of clients who are on diet, and upon special request, I do it for them, taking certain things that the doctors did not prescribe for them out, just for them also to have something to do. Some are even on religious grounds, they don't take meat at all. So they find the fish a very good substitute for the meat sausage. So we ran Aquatic Foods. So now we've run Aquatic Foods for 2 years. And the product that I have now is the fish sausage. And like I said, because lots of people want to know more about it, I sell more even in the kebabs than even the fresh sausage, because it's an easy way out. When you come, oh, this is fish sausage, so I want to taste it. You taste it, you like it, you buy it. Then I thought that, well, so I do fish sausage, I do the pate as well for the burger, if you see the picture there, so that you can also have fish burgers. Then the story of this Kobe came up, the way we dry it and using certain chemicals to preserve it. So I saw an opportunity there. So I started selling the idea to them that I do Kobe in a very hygienic environment. I do it indoors, and I have a drying machine in the shop. So I dry. So I started selling, and people liked the idea. There were a few ones who said Kobe is not Kobe if it's not run over by lizards and flies and all that. Well, but those who are more hygienic, think of healthy food, subscribe to it. So I asked a question one day on Facebook. That's one of my areas of selling, asking why people do not take Kobe. And then most of them said there are too many bones in Kobe, and some also said it's too salty. So I said, well, that can also be fixed. So I do the fillet, and then I process it into Kobe. So I have the boneless Kobe as well. And then the salt, you cannot do much. You can minimize it well, but because you need the salt to preserve the fish. So I have the fish burgers, the fish pate. Then recently, I moved forward. I wanted to try more. So I tried mushroom and fish sausage. Fantastic. And I did snail. I'm now currently processing snail and fish sausages as well. So all that we are doing is to have fish, but in different, have other products other than the traditional way of having the fish product. Either you have it smoked, you have it fried, or you eat it fresh. But then, and I like the Asian a lot, so I go on their site and I see a lot of things that they do with fish that I'm itching to try my hands on. And I hope that one day I'll be able to do it, and the Ghanaian community, well, maybe West Africa will accept the other products that we do. I put a slide across to show where I started from, but I think it's not running. So you're only seeing the product. Yes, okay. So this is the era of the fish farming, where this is where the sorting table, where we do our sorting, where we take the fish from the river. I was doing it in cage farming, so it was in the sea in Akuse. So you have the fish. We have them caged, and then at harvest time. This is the first time I tried my hands on Kobe. I did that simply because when I harvested the fish, the women came back and said they don't like the sizes. The sizes were too small, and so they will not buy. And if you take the fish, tilapia, when you take it out of the river, you can't put them back. They are so delicate. So immediately I sent someone to go to the market, and we bought salt, and we started. So this is how I even learned how to do the Kobe. So that's why I term that every misfortune is a blessing. So I did the Kobe. So this is what you see that. So this is my first attempt of doing Kobe, and it was like 1 ton of fish that we had to process into Kobe that day because the women will not buy the fish that we brought out of the water. And if there's like this is filleting the fish. I have to say that I didn't also know how to fillet fish. So I went to YouTube and I learned how to do the filleting. So this is catfish. We use catfish also for the sausage. So we can use the sea fish, we can use catfish, and then tilapia. And any fish that is fleshy, you can use it for the sausage. So this is my first equipment that I bought. I bought a food processor with a sausage maker attached to it. So this is the mincing the fish, and then you can mix it with the other ingredients, and then you have your fish sausage. Yes, so this is a mix. Yes, okay. Please go ahead. And I must say that this is my kitchen. I had my son, my children helping me. This is the Uganda Industrial Research Institute. This is where I first chanced upon fish sausage, where I went for the incubation training, management training. This is the center. So I went back later on to learn really how to do the fish sausage. This was just a visit to the institute. But later on, when I realized that this is what I want to do, I went back to them and I spent a week with them, and I learned how to do the fish, the sausage in a more commercial way, because all that I was doing was just for a small one for your house, and it wasn't economical. Okay, so yeah, so that was my first product. After that, tasting what I had done. So this is what I'm doing now. This is a fish sausage. It comes out in this form. If it goes on, you see the product.
Okay, Mabel, please round up.
Okay. So this is a boneless Kobe. The large one is a boneless Kobe. All the bones have been taken out, and we've used it for Kobe, and I have the main Kobe as well. So this is how I package it now, and this is my journey so far, with where I started and where I ended. It got to a point. I talk to people and they tell me that I must be very crazy, because if I work in a bank where my salary is assured every month and I live to start my own business, then I must be crazy. But I have to say that this is very fulfilling. I mean, I see myself reaching out to a section of people who otherwise would not even have tasted this, and then also to have my women. I am very passionate about women. So have my women also learn how to do this and not only stick to the old way of doing things. This is my favorite product, the fish sausage kebab. If we were to have a physical meeting, we'll be enjoying the kebab, but unfortunately, we have to go virtual. So maybe another time we'll have to taste my product. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mabel. We are very grateful. We are very, very grateful for this. Okay, so we are now left to the last speaker, before we go to the Q&As. And he needs no introduction, especially to the Katakyie fraternity. And then for most people, even in Ghana, we all probably know his products, but we don't really know the main brain behind. He's a very humble, nice gentleman, and extremely hardworking. So Katakyie, I always call him Katakyie, yes. So Kwaku, please, the floor is yours. We'll try and see whether you can post your pictures as you go on. Thank you. Brobbey.
Thank you, Osei, Katakyie. Thank you very, very much. Good evening, everybody, and good morning, wherever you are, if it's in the morning. My name as was mentioned, is Osei Brobbey. I'm married with 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. I'm trying to give account of myself, my journey within the time frame, 15 minutes that has been given. Osei Brobbey is a guy who entered Opokuwari in the year 1982. He made mistakes in life. I hope my account will inspire people that wherever you are or wherever you see yourself, you be honest with yourself and work upwards to change your life. I made mistakes in my time in Opokuwari, which I wasn't proud of. I must say, social aspect of life took the better side of me when I was in Opokuwari. I was more of an entertainment person, partying all over. And it got to a point that it was a period that going to abroad was the hip, or what people wanted to do. So I made a mess of my life, which means I left the school not the way I'd wanted it. So that made me angry, and the anger turned into hunger, if I should put it that way. So to speak, I pulled the bull by the horn that I'll change my life. So I left Opokuwari year 1987 and was just idling about at home from 87 to 89. Around that time, my mates were then in upper 6. So, like I said, I became angry of myself. But 1989, my uncle gave me the opportunity to serve with his new pharmacy shop. At the pharmacy shop, then the turnaround came because I saw a gap, which I thought, yes, I could fill that gap. What was the gap? Okay, the operation of their shop was that my uncle was a lecturer. So he came to take over the pharmacy shop in the evening, and the wife operates in the daytime. So I was more or less the errand guy who go around picking pharmaceutical products and bring to the shop. So I saw a gap that I can also buy some from my little savings and supply to chemical shops, which I started doing and was going well. So that brought me into business. In doing so, it was lucrative for me. So somehow I left the shop and started doing it on my own from 89 to, from 90 to 91. Then opportunity came for me to go to London. When I got to London, I knew I had to come back because there was unfinished business in Ghana, which I had to continue. I tried every possible means to save money, working 2 jobs, doing so many jobs, and I made some savings. So in making those savings, I met my wife in London, and I, put before her my plan in life. He bought into my idea. So 1997, I came down to Ghana. That was my first time coming to Ghana. When I came, because I've done so much research, I acquired a shop in Ibidun. So when I went back, I went to China. Prior to that, I was doing so much research into trade because I had at that time role models that I was looking up to. Though they didn't know me, I saw them as role models from afar. So I was monitoring the kind of work they do, where they get their products from. So while I was in London, I was doing a lot of research where I can get products. So when I went to China, I chanced on the suppliers of Ghana Must Go, the bags that those in diaspora, when they come to Ghana, they're going back, they put their food stuff in. So I started importing these products, these bags, to Kumasi, and it was a good business at that time. Burkina Faso people came and buy them in quantity, but in doing so, I realized that wasn't what I wanted to do. I saw it as a stepping stone. So 1987, I brought these bags, started selling them. 89, 2000, sorry, 98, 99, 2000, I was in this business. I added a few other products to it. Still doing my research. So it was in 2001 that a major breakthrough came to me. I chanced on manufacturers of washing powder. I had a discussion with them, we negotiated. We agreed that they'll produce my product, my brand. At that time, there was no name in mind. I spoke to my wife about it. We put some names together and the choice fell on Yaz. That's YAZZ. So I started working with these people. They were supplying me. In the check bags, I was doing about 4 containers in a year. But then I went to this washing powder and I was doing about 5 containers in a month. So business was good. Then I started adding on. I added toothpaste, Yaz toothpaste. I introduced also Yaz toilet tissue. I introduced Yaz sanitary pad. So in 2005, I decided no, the business was getting bigger. So I have to go back to classroom. So somebody who left school over 18 years, I had to enroll at Gimpa because I knew at that time that the business was going to be bigger. So I enrolled at Gimpa. Like Mabel said, at that time I was working and also schooling. It wasn't easy. That taught me that you have to do right thing at the right time. Because if I had schooled well, things would have been easier for me. But, like I said, I became angry with myself. So school was good. 2009, I finished with a degree in marketing, business administration, but a major in marketing. So around that time, I decided to go into production. I set up a factory. I acquired about 8 acres at Micho, near Pram Pram, which I've developed about 4 acres of the 8 acres. Just recently, we've started our production of tissue, that's Yaz napkin, Yaz toilet roll, Yaz kitchen towel. So 2010, we also launched Yaz in Liberia, and it's doing very, very well. as I'm talking to you now, Yaz is a well or household name in Liberia. In fact, some of our category of products, we are #1 in Liberia. We also went on to launch Yaz in Sierra Leone, which is also doing well. So in the nutshell, this is a guy who made a mess of his life, but turned things around by God's grace. And now, with my business called Lexter, our mission is to conquer Africa. And we believe it's doable. We are on course. We are in Liberia, we are in Ghana, we are in Sierra Leone, and we keep on expanding. So this is Martin Brobbey, who is the MD for Yaz, Lexter Ghana Limited. Our brand is Yaz. We also have another brand called Hooch, which is into cereal. Currently, I've also diversified, and now in real estate, which is also doing very well. So to the forum, this is the journey of Martin Brobbey. Thank you very, very much. Mr. Osei.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Katakyie, Brobbey, that's so insightful, that's deep. I think that sometimes people like you are unable to tell us the truth, how they make a few mistakes and then decide to not tell. And the thing I took from you was the fact that you got angry and the anger turned into hunger. I will never forget that lie. Okay, so thank you so much to our wonderful three speakers. It's been great. And then if I go through the comments, it looks like everybody's enjoyed everything and all that. So what I'll try to do for the sake of those who joined late is to do a quick summary of some of the things that have been talked about. I won't go into the fine details, but I just touch on the main issues. So Prof ran us through the basics of entrepreneurship. He talked about competition, and then he talked about who are real customers and who are real competitors are. And he also mentioned value proposition, and then how different that one is from product. And he also mentioned something that are very important, the non-consumption customers. And I remember he said something like, sometimes use those as an experiment to grow and improve your brand. And then he also mentioned challenging the standard assumptions that we have in life. And sometimes once you do that, you're able to find solutions to a lot of things. We should think about outside the box and then break the norms and we'll come up with things. And then he also talked about the fact that as a startup business, you don't go asking for money, but rather go and ask for advice. And hopefully when you ask for advice, the advice might arouse interest. And when it arouses that interest, then if you're lucky, that person might open a door or even assist you. And then he also talked about how to raise funds and all that. And then the most important thing that he used to conclude was that was very important for every entrepreneur to transfer wealth to the customer. Sometimes the mistake we do is that we try to think about transferring the wealth to us alone. But once you transfer the wealth to the customer becomes happy. And when he becomes happy, he comes back to you again, and again. So Prof, thank you very much. I tried to do a quick summary of the things you said for those who just joined late. And then Slopsan Mabel also ran us through her career and education and all that, where it started from. And I'm sure he never thought she was even going to end up in the agribusiness. And then she said when she tried to do her master's in entrepreneurship, the precondition was to have a business proposal, a business concept. And so she was forced to think about other things. And she came up with the concept of fish farming. And so she ran us through the different things. She ran Aquatic Food Limited for 2 years and then later on went into other things. She also tried different types of food that she's able to do with the fish sausages. Honestly, this is the first time even hearing fish sausage. I eat fish alone, so maybe it's a very good platform for all of us to get to know. She talked about different things, and that the fact that she kept researching, learning, and speaking to people. Sometimes giving things for free just to get feedback and improve their business, which is really important for any entrepreneur, because feedback is a great part of growing or improving your product. So now she's also focusing on doing a lot of research to come up with variety with food options, with what she can do with the food, the fish. Okay, so and then she also showed us the different types of things she could do, and I think all of us were amazed. We never believed that there could be something like that. So Mabel, thank you so much for this presentation and very insightful conversation on this. Okay, and then let me talk about our last speaker, Katakyie Brobbey. Intro took me by surprise, but times, like you said, when you make mistakes, you accept the mistakes. And they say when you make a mistake and you fall down, falling down, remaining down is the mistake, but getting up shows they're a very strong person and they're used to build yourself. And I think he's done very well for himself. He talked about how he wasn't too focused in school in Katakyie. And then I remember him so much in his cadet uniform, some thick, tall guy, and I used to admire him a lot. Front us in form, one tiny boy, and I said, okay, when I grow up, I want to be in the cadet. I also joined the cadet anyway. I'm sure the first time I'm telling you this. Okay, so he got angry and decided to change this anger into hunger. And then, of course, this hunger is supposed to make him successful so that he makes up for all the mistakes that he's done. So he started his career by working for his uncle in a pharmaceutical shop. And then according to him, that changed his life. He saw a gap in the way in the pharmacy business and he took it and it turned into a business. And then eventually he left and then started his own business out of this. Later on, he went to London. The part that also got me very excited, the fact that when he went to London, clearly in his mind, he knew he was supposed to come back because there's unfinished business in Ghana. And that's the part that really excites me. Sometimes we live for greener pastures, we start enjoying it and we live over there forever. But for him, he said there was unfinished business in Ghana. And you could see that clearly it was the anger that turned into hunger to prove a point. So eventually he met his beautiful wife. And then I'm happy he talked about his wife and the role his wife played. I know the wife very well, and I think she's a very fantastic person. And so he started his business in Ibidun and then went into the Ghana Must Go Back. A lot of people never thought, I don't think any of us on this platform probably thought that could be a business line. And according to him, he was doing 4 or 5 containers in a year or so, and then he was very happy about. But eventually, he went into washing powder, and then he was doing over 5 containers in a month. That shows. And then the part that also excited me was the fact that he realized the business was growing, he needed to also grow his capacity. And at this point, somehow it makes sense to me why we have maybe Prof on this forum. Because in life, what I think is that when you get a certain point and you have limitations, what you do is you go back to school, educate yourself, acquire more skills, and then come back to improve. And that's what Katakyie Martin did. He went back to get his BA. He put pride aside. He had all the money, but decided not to go, but he went and he did it. Eventually, he set up his own factory and he's now producing. Later on, we'll try and show pictures of his products. Yas is a #1 product in this country. And I said, this is the fine gentleman. And then he's also not resting on his house. Like he said, he's going into Liberia, he's going to other countries. And then he said what? The dream is to become big in Africa. Now, there's something he left out, which I know he wouldn't talk about. So let me just talk about. He's a very generous gentleman, a philanthropist who believes so much in doing a lot for people. He actually built, renovated a dispensary in Katakyie School, fully furnished, one of the finest things that we have seen in years. Anytime you hear cervical cancer awareness program in Ghana, he's the main guy who funds it and all that. He helps orphanages, he does a lot of things. I know he'll be happy with me saying this, but I'll have to say it. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a quick summary of the 3 presentations I've gotten so far. Now we're going to go to the question and answers. I sincerely apologize because it looks like we've delayed a bit with that timing, but I'm sure everybody's enjoying the program, so we'll try and then see how well we do with the time. Okay, so at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the chat and then ask questions first, from the chat room, and then we'll pick it up. Okay, so Prof, I think there's a question for you. My question is about pricing strategy. What's the best way to increase school fees without having much headache from parents, timing and percentage in increment? Also, having different fee structures in the school, that's price discrimination. I will appreciate for your advice and support. Okay, Prof, Ganesh, Prof, I'm trying to read most of the questions so that you can maybe in your first response. Let me go through every Prof. It says Ghanaians are excellent copycats. How do entrepreneurs protect their ideas, products, services from these copycats? Okay, somebody is supposed to have that time with Prof. Okay, we'll talk about it. Customer engagement is very important. Okay, so that is for Mabel. So Prof, if you can take this one, then I'll come to Mabel.
Okay, thank you very much.
I try to bundle the questions together, so those you can answer.
Yeah, and thanks for the questions. I think the first thing you have to know about pricing services, education is a service, is that customers never know the basis of pricing for services. For a product, a customer can always kind of check the quality and things like that. For pricing, for service is very difficult. So there are two problems with that. And the first problem is that customers always are uncertain the basis of pricing. And secondly, customers are always worried about being cheated, right? So for me, the best way to ensure effective pricing in services is a particular education is to have a satisfaction service pricing approach, which means that if you have problems with parents kind of not wanting to buy a certain, not wanting to pay a particular price, then you have to bring in a certain kind of guarantee, which you call satisfactory pricing, which says that, okay, we produce this outcome and you pay for this outcome. That helps customers to see this as a fair system, because remember, they are uncertain, they feel that you can cheat them. So the best approach is to have a pricing which is based on satisfaction. It's not a guaranteed pricing, remember this, but this is just satisfaction in the sense that parents say, okay, I want this for my kids, I want my kids to do this and all that, and for that reason, I pay this price. Now, unfortunately, we don't have that pricing system in the world today or in most places today. But the point is that we're talking about entrepreneurship and innovation here. You have to try to find a different approach if you think that your normal pricing approach is not working. I won't go into our pricing for SIPs. For example, in SIPs, we do similar things because our pricing is based typically on student satisfaction of the services we provide. So, for example, the research support, the speed of completion of your thesis. We have graduate on time model. And if you do this, people pay for that because they know that there are certain outcomes they are achieving. Now, the second question relates to copycats. Now, copycats, everywhere there's copycats. I told you I live in China and everybody says Chinese people are copycats. If you look at the innovation history, the same thing applies to every country, right? So Ghana is not an exception. The problem is that in a lot of times, people focus on the product or service only, which is the technology aspect, which is the functional aspect. And this is very easy to copy because people can learn easily. They can learn quickly and copy a particular product. What people cannot copy is the business model that actually surrounds your product. So if you don't build a resilient business model around your product, then you open yourself to attack in a sense that it's easy to copy the product but it's not easy to copy a business model. Why? Because a business model is simply a conglomeration, a combination of a lot of things. I won't go into that, but it's a combination of a lot of things which support the product. In fact, in innovation, we say that quality does not always win. Business model always wins. In other words, you can have a very poor product surrounded by a very good business model, you'll be successful. But you can have a very strong product or high quality product with a poor business model, you will not be successful. Why? Because people would always capture or take your value away by copying. So my suggestion to you is that think about your business model, what is included. If you have a very good business model, you can talk about it every day in the graphic every day. People cannot copy that. Thank you.
Okay, Prof, let me please answer this, after which I will have to move to Mabel and then Katakyie Brobbey. So let me, okay, this just came, but Prof, I assume I join NIPS. What is the probability that I'll finish in 3 years? And then please, let me add this one so that, how do you break away from the traditional university mindset of starting from first degree to PhD and going the other way around? And then how do you raise cheaper funds to expand your business? Okay, so Prof, if you can take these three, then I'll now have to move to Mabel and then Katakyie. Thank you. Okay, it's different. Brobbey.
Okay, the first one is 3. We have a model we call graduate on time model. And that simply means that the systems and the business model we've put in place is structured in such a way that you can finish your degree on time. And on time means 3 years. That's the normal period for a doctorate degree. And we have this philosophy. Doctorate degrees are training degrees. They are not an end in themselves. They provide you with skills to do things better in the future. So the more time you spend in a doctorate degree, you're wasting your time. Because people will listen to you only when you have the doctor in front of your name, not before, right? So we try to make sure that everybody finishes their work in 3 years. Currently, our aim is to have 90% of executives finishing their degree within the 3 years. Currently, we are we are achieving 85%, which is not very, which is very, very good, because that is actually almost double the international average. And it's because of the system we have to put in place. The minimum time for you to submit your thesis is actually 2.5 years. And already we have about 10, 20 students that have been able to achieve that. So far, we have graduated 125 students in the last 4 years. And currently we have about 200 students with that. We're a very small school, very, very small. And it's deliberately designed that way because we're a doctorate school. Now, the second question was about, sorry. Amos, help me with the second question. What was it?
Okay, let me just scroll down.
The other one was about cheaper funds. Right.
Cheaper funds.
I have a history because of my family background and some of the experiences, just like the other speakers, the experiences I had in my life, I don't borrow, particularly from banks, because of very bad experience I had in my life with my family and all that. So I really don't know about cheaper funds. What I do as an entrepreneur is always to make sure that if I don't have the money, I use the customer's money. And it's a whole, discussion of itself about using the customer's money. And, you try and find ways, creative ways, by actually getting money while the idea, some businesses you can't do this, obviously, but if you don't have money, then go into businesses that allow you to use the customer's money during the setup process, and that's what I've done. If you look at, we didn't have a chance to show the picture of our campus. If you saw the campus, I spent almost $5 million in 4 years in building that campus, and it's all customers' money, and I didn't borrow a cent. So don't look for cheap money. Try and find creative ways to get money. That's for me. That's what I would say. The second question was.
Okay. Okay, Prof. I think this should do.
Okay, let's go on. Yeah.
Mabel. Okay, so Mabel, I'm struggling to find a question. All I seem to be reading is people are just showering praises on you and you being creative, and somebody even said a virtuous woman. Where can I now? No, all I see in the comments, well done, you are great and well, so I'm sure when we get to the proper question and answer, people will be asking you questions. Now, Katakyie, Brobbey, same to you. One person has said, he said, you have inspired him so much that he wants to go back to school. And he's asking, he's into real estate construction. And he's asking whether anybody knows a good construction school that he can attend. He wants to be like YAS. Yeah. And the other person says, please, what's the meaning of YAS? YAA. Would you share that with us? And Katakyie, Brobbey, you're also getting all the fans throughout too. Okay. So yeah. Katakyie, Brobbey, please, if you can answer.
Mr. Osei, can you let me know the question, please, once again?
The question is, well, somebody says that after listening to your story, he has to go back to school. Not that he wants to go, he has to go back. But because you also mentioned you're into real estate, he said that he's into real estate construction. Do you know any school or anything that he can do to upgrade himself?
Okay.
Especially the construction business.
Thank you very much.
And then the next question is that, YAS, what does it stand for, unless you don't want to share it with us?
Okay, let me answer the YAS first. The YAS, it doesn't connote anything. I mean, we put few names that can easily be pronounced. That is catchy. Like I said, me and my wife, we discussed on that. We put about 3 or 4 names in a hat, and the YAS came out. So it's not, it doesn't connote anything. It's just a name that we are looking for that can stand out. And that's what we came up for. So that's that. For the construction, I haven't been to school on the construction. I'm one person who thinks success is in the mind. Success is in the mind. It's how you visualize where you want to get to and work towards it. I do a lot of research. I mean, this day, I tell people that you don't have any excuse. In our days, there was no internet. In fact, books that we were reading were old books. You know, after the book has been produced, it takes about 15 years or 10 years before it reach us. Now we have internet. Anything, I mean, construction, you can even, you know, do a research or study online. Pick information. The construction business that I'm in, I devote my time. And I learn, I started about 4 years ago. I learn every way to now. So maybe you can go to polytechnics or I don't know, but you know, I apply myself to it. Anything I set my heart on, I work hard and I'm able to achieve it. So I believe if you want to go into construction as a business, start from little and you can get there. You know, I don't know any construction school sitting here, but I think if you want to work for someone, that's
okay. So I thank you very much. Okay. Okay, so his question was that he wants construction management school. So what I think the speaker should be focusing on is getting a good management school. And I think, Prof, so they are just management, once you understand the principles, you're able to apply to any industry you find. So maybe Prof is the best person to speak to. There's another question for you, Katakyie Martin. What strategies did you find useful to get Ghanaians to try your new year's products against other products like Omo? Basically, what did you do differently to get Ghanaians to try your products against brands like Omo? And then the next question: how exactly did your education in GIMPA help you in business? So basically, to what extent did academia help you? That's the question.
Okay. You know, as the business was growing, I needed to equip myself what people, guys. And like I said, I did marketing, business administration in marketing, and my business borders on marketing. So it has helped me immensely. You know, every way. I mean, there were so many things I was doing which I didn't know was in line with marketing until I got there. But you know, it has helped me. It's business administration that I did, managing people, managing factory, you know, supply chain, everything. It has helped me. We import a lot. So it has helped me in managing my business. I mean, now I'm managing international business like Liberia, operations in Liberia, operations in Ghana, factory. So all this, the administration has helped me. And the second question.
Okay, the next question to you, Brobbey, is what are the challenges associated, I think, with manufacturing in your view after being in the imports and import business? So now that you are manufacturing, what are the challenges? Because in the past you were just importing stuff. Now you are producing here in Ghana. What are some of your challenges in the manufacturing production business?
Okay, what I've noticed, which is a bit difficult for me, is manufacturing is totally different from importing, in a sense that, you know, when you import, you bring the products in. But when you set up a factory, if machines are not operating, you still pay staff. You still pay staff. So it's difficult. The kind of also the manufacturing I entered was also a bit difficult because you have to import about 80% of our raw materials. So currently I'm looking for a manufacturing site which I'll be having 80% of the raw materials in Ghana. We are looking into going into manufacturing of soap, the laundry soap and the toilet soap. So that's what we are looking at as a business. If I've answered the question.
Okay, there's a question for, okay, so Madam Mabel, there's a question for you. Do you still farm your own fish or you buy from open market now? And then where can people get your products to buy and how easily accessible is your product?
Okay, currently I buy from the open market, but I have the view of revamping the fishing in the fish farming again. Once I've settled with the production of sausage, I want to go backwards and now produce my own fish to feed the factory, if not even to sell to the outside world. So my cages are still there, the place is still open, and I'm going to go back to that. And I'm based in Sakumono. I put my number in the chat, so I believe that I've taken a few numbers down, but if I miss it or you miss my number, you can get my number in the chat. And I must say that, well, I can reach anywhere. I've done deliveries to even Asankragua before for a funeral, so just let me know and then we can arrange for you to get your. But let me also say, I saw a question. It wasn't meant for me, but it's quite relevant to, it's one of the reasons why I went into the processing side. We're talking of pricing, and the fact that in agriculture, the market dictates to us, the farmers, how much we should sell our products. That was one of the main reasons why, in addition to other reasons, why I went into production of the fish sausage. Because if you harvest your fish, tilapia, it's a delicacy in Ghana. If you do 2 tons, 3 tons, 4 tons in a day, you can sell everything. But then they tell you how much they want to buy your fish. And if you try all the middle women, they will all have one price. But we as farmers are not able to settle on a common price. So every time the farmer is at a disadvantage. So it's one of the reasons why I said certain things did not gel well with me. And also our mode of, when you sort, we do not use scale. So you just use your hand to ascertain the weight of the fish, and that's how the sorting is done. And you have every time haggling over the weight. No, this is not size 2, this is size 1. I won't pick this one, and it just didn't go well with me. So I just moved to a place where I'll be more comfortable. And I saw that the question was directed at Mr. Brobbey, but I think that I also want to share my experience on that one too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Katakyie Brobbey, 2 questions for you. Somebody says to Mr. Brobbey, is he looking into floating shares for others to invest in their business? And then another question is, can anybody share a little of their failures or frustrations had in their businesses? I think that. So all 3 of you, but can you answer the question?
It's something for the future. I think maybe the next 3 to 5 years, we will work on that. It's something for the future.
Okay. Can you tell us some of the challenges? Or your failures and frustrations? In fact, I think you basically talked about yours. So let's leave that to Prof and Madam Mabel.
You want me, Prof is smiling, you want me to start?
Well, I will say you go first.
Okay, I saw your smile and I understood. So I think that in any business, especially if you're a startup, you go through a lot of challenges. And I just mentioned one about we being price takers and we're forced to sell at the price that they want to give to us. My failure, I don't term it failure because I went into the fish farming. I got some challenges, and that one rather led me to a more profitable or a more acceptable business model than what I was doing. Because we're saying that we always get from others. So I will not term it failure as such. Yes, the business didn't go well. At one point, I was losing money. I mean, I was not making profit and I was just losing money. And quickly we thought that let's suspend, go back to the drawing table and see what the problem is and come back to it. And in going back to the drawing table, we diverted into something else. So I don't want to term it as a failure, no.
Okay,
Prof, your comment, please.
I think my major failure, not directly related to the business at the moment, I could talk about that, but my major failure is my inability to attend OWAS, which was a big issue, and I attended at Chinsha Secondary School. You all know about Chinsha Secondary School, right? But in the end, it turned out to be it turned out to be a good school for me. From there, I went to Mfansipim to do my A-levels and went to Nigeria. Long story. But one major failure is that when I went to, after university and I went to Nigeria, life was so tough that I came back to Ghana and was unemployed for almost 1 year. And it's a long story. So those are failures, but like Mr. Brobbey, you learn from these things and you kind of, it makes you strong. Those things make you very, very strong, which helped me later on in my career when I went to Australia. A long story. But in terms of business failures or difficulties, I think one of the major problems or difficulties is dealing with regulation, particularly in education, dealing with regulations and the laws that guide the behavior and the decisions these people make. Many years ago, when I was working in Australia, in pharmaceutical business, my CEO told me that if you follow the law in pharmaceuticals, you will not sell a single drug, right? Now, what he said, he doesn't mean, of course, break the law, but he says be creative in dealing with the law. So in Ghana, I've tried to follow the law, but in most of the things I do, I try to be really, really creative and push it to the extent I can push it. So I think that's one thing that perhaps if you're in business and dealing with regulation, you may want to adopt. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So at this point, I think we've exhausted most of the questions over here. We're supposed to have closed at 10 o'clock, but I'll plead to everybody to give us just our next around 10:30. I think it's only proper and nice that I come back to the floor and then ask people if they have questions. So if anybody has a question, let's yes, Katakyie.
Yes, a certain gentleman, I think one of Katakyie, Nana Kusiminka, was asking how easy can I work together and seek business advice and guidance. My doors are always open. You can pick my number from Osei, and we can schedule a time and a date. We can sit down and talk, and I can give any advice that I can give. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I saw that question. I intentionally skipped it. I didn't want anybody to harass you, but once you've opened up, that's good. So, questions, I'm inviting questions from members of the platform. Any questions?
I have a question I would like to ask Prof first.
Okay, that's actually, I hear you.
Yes.
I can see that my almighty president.
Yes. So he mentioned transfer of wealth to our customers. I wanted to find out, the concept is interesting, but I wanted to understand it better in relation to, for instance, the transport industry. If I have a business where I rent out trucks to people or vehicles to people, can he elaborate how I can transfer wealth to my customers?
Okay. Now, from business thinking that you have some stakeholders, and of course, stakeholders include customers, right? Now just think about this. Everything you do, you say, okay, my employees are important. I pay them money. My shareholders are important, so I give them profit, share of the profit and all that. But who actually drives the business? And obviously, you will say it's the customers that drive the business. In fact, one of the simple kind of mind-changing questions I used to ask executives is that, what is the purpose of the business? Now, most people would say the purpose of the business is to make profit, which is wrong, right? The purpose of the business is actually to create a satisfied customer, Why? Because the satisfied customer that actually underlines the purpose of your business and how the business becomes profitable. You know, there are companies around this world who share their profits with customers. So I just want you to think about that, right? Just think about that and see whether it's possible to actually get your customers to really bind with the firm because they have a stake in the success of the firm. Just think about that. That's
okay,
all.
thank you, Prof. So we have a few hands up. Katakyie Shwazi will go first. Then Sally, I saw you. Fell, and then Stephen and Dan in that order. So Katakyie Frank Shwazi is the president of the UK groups. The floor is yours.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to say that all the panelists have been excellent today. That's a very good work done. My question is to our lovely Slopsan lady. I'm a pescatarian myself, so you know I just live with fish and everything. I am glad that you know you coming up with all these diverse sort of ways of how we can really enjoy fish. My question to you though is I think you partly answered my question by saying you may be going back to the farming aspect of it. So, I mean, do you have in place like a hybrid model that you think you can really put into effect to move some of your products into the shops and things like that? And also my last point is just to say to our lovely Mr. Brobbey, popularly known as Yas, a good man from the Holy House of St. James. I just want to say that we really appreciate it. It would be good for him to put his experience in the book. This is something that we need to really catalog and read. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, President. Sally. Sally, you raised your hand. Sally, okay.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Fine.
Presentations. The question I wanted to ask was, I am setting up a business in Ghana. It's in a service. It's about education, consultancy, and so on. And to what extent, I very much also want a bit of, to offer some charitable services. But what I'm not sure is maybe advice from your esteemed selves. How do I go about it? Do I wait till it's profitable to begin a charitable service? Can it run in tandem, side by side? I'm not sure what to do in that respect. And I just wanted some advice. To what extent can I run a business and also run a charitable service as well? And that's my question.
For me, a simple solution is to build a model where you have a pricing strategy where some people pay a very high price, which you use to subsidize other people in your business group, right? You know, so if I was doing this, I would start by building maybe 2-3 years, building the profitable side of the business. Maybe we're skimming pricing strategy, depending on the product and the model you build, right? And then use that, you know, the profits. And remember this, that if you build it very, very well, it is possible that those students who pay for the high price that you started with are actually willing to do the charity work as part of their activities in studying whatever they are studying. So for example, let me give you an example. I brought the China Europe International Business School to Ghana right? And because we're in Africa, I built into that model a system where every cohort that finishes the program will do some hope work. You can call it charity work, right? You know, and that hope work is for life, right? The cohort takes a job. For example, the first one, if you remember, Mr. Osei, was the library something in one of the secondary schools, right?
Yes.
And the students commit.
No, Prof, that was the second one.
That was the second one, right?
Oh, okay. The library, yeah, the library around.
The library was the first one.
Sorry, yeah, right.
Yeah, in Kolebu area, yes. You know, and they take it for life. Did you understand what I mean? For life, meaning that they commit to work and support this place with the kids and everything for life. You know, so you build that as part of the emotional kind of structure within the profitable business model, right? And then ask them to help you do that. That's what I was saying. That's free consulting, actually.
Okay, thank you. Phil.
Yes, yes, thanks for the opportunity, and thank you so much for giving us this chance to listen in on such a wonderful topic. Yes, I'm Felix, BG112, and my question is sort of a follow-up to a question that was asked about how to finance a business. So the answer I got, the understanding from Prof's answer was that it means you're already in the business and you've been working for some time. How about if you are now starting a new business? Okay, because Prof said you have to use your customers' money. How about if you are starting a business, you do not have any customer? Because Prof was sort of against getting bank loan. So if it's a new business, how do you finance it? How do you fund it?
Thank you, Phil. Prof.
Good question. I think you misunderstood me. I didn't say that I'm against bank loans. I'm just saying that it's quite difficult. And secondly, banks naturally are not set up to support, you know, startups, particularly in our part of the world, you know. And secondly, when I said that my business was a startup, I didn't have any customers. It was just like a school, right? And I started, you know, I wanted to start a school. So it was not something that I have already done and then I was doing something else, you know, a new part of it. No, it was just like a start, like you're saying, when somebody wants to start a new business, exactly the same thing I started with. But my idea is that, and remember, a lot of businesses do what I'm saying. It's not really new. It's just to think creatively about how they apply to your own business. For example, if you want to buy an apartment in Ghana, in Accra, they will use your money to build and pay. You pay for it, right? They ask you, you know, before the building starts, you pay 40%, and then at another time you pay this, and another time you pay this. They're using your money to build and charging you a big price, right? So there are a lot of ideas that are used in different industries, which actually taps the customer's money for financing their own businesses. And I just want you to, you know, study that and research that and think how they might apply to your own business.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Before I come to Dan, Stephen, and Joshua, there's a question on the chat room. It is difficult starting anything. I have many ideas, but which one to start or run with is my challenge. Can you help me? That's a tough one.
My answer is quickly, you know, ideas are cheap. A lot of ideas float around. Everybody got ideas, you know. Just do what you really love to do and try and, you know, have options. For example, before I set up NIBS, I had a consulting company in the UK to do a quick research for me. And they do research here all the time. So I tap into that. And They gave me, I wanted to know industries where it might be very good to start a quick business. They gave me religion as an industry, and that was surprising, to be honest. They gave me education, health, and a few others. And because I was in education and because I had experience in education and all that, I thought maybe I'll stay with education. So do something that you think your experience would help you succeed, something that you really, really like to do. Not something that you do 2 years down the track and say, oh shit, sorry, what have I done here, right? Don't do that. So do something. Sorry about that.
Okay, Prof, thank you so much. Oh, okay. Okay, so Dan Dari. Yes, your question. Please be brief. We have just about 10 minutes to round up. So
yeah, okay, I'll make it snappy. Eunaiwan, thank you for this opportunity, and also the speakers are brilliant. My question kind of ties it into what Prof just said. It's about, he does say ideas are cheap, but then when you don't have the idea, I don't know how cheap you are. So my question is more of, how do you identify a business opportunity? And then, so how do you—
Thank you very much. Okay.
Well, there are a lot of techniques that you can use. And I think in my talk, I mentioned a few of them. One is challenging industry assumptions. One is using analytical reasoning. One is understanding compensating behaviors of customers. And these are kind of technical kind of, words, but they are quite simple. For example, one key thing in entrepreneurship is that people will not pay for something that they are not trying to, a problem they are not trying to solve, right? So meaning that they have a problem and in some other way they are trying to solve it, but the solution is not that effective, right? So if you're able to identify, and that's what we mean by compensating behaviors, things that they are doing to solve the problem because they don't have a better solution. You get a point. So if you're able to identify, and there are simple techniques that we use, and we can demonstrate how we use them and show examples of ideas that have been built into a business by using those techniques. So unfortunately, this forum will not allow us to go into details of that, but there are various ways of identifying it. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Stephen, okay, so you can see on the screen, Prof School. This is a 5-story building. It's huge, very huge.
6-story.
6-story. This is what we call physical evidence in marketing. Okay.
Well done, Prof.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's around East Lake on Golf House area. I think the National Health Insurance area. Food and Drugs Board right behind. Okay, so you can see it better now. Okay, Stephen, you're next, please. Your question whilst we watch it.
All right. Thanks for the opportunity to join this forum. It's been much interesting. Prof mentioned adhering to regulations in Ghana. I want to find out from Prof, when is it appropriate to register a firm, a startup firm, as a limited liability company, which you have to make sure you have funds to pay for account officers who will be preparing your financial report for taxing? Because as a startup, usually you might not be making a profit. And if part of the returns will be used to pay for financial services, is it ideal to start a business as a limited liability, or you should run it as a different model?
Well,
Thank you very much, Stephen. Prof.
Yeah, I've been burnt in my experience with that, actually, that issue. Because when you register a company as limited liability in Ghana, the Registrar General quickly allocates to you an auditor. And I found out that these auditors are really not good. I don't know, they have connections there and then they get registered, allocated to you. I don't know Mr. Brobbey's experience. And they messed up quite big time in some areas for me. So if I was setting up a business again in Ghana, I'll probably go as a sole proprietorship for a few years and then see what happens. But I don't know the tax law. I think you really need to get a tax lawyer, to really explain things to you. But it can be very complicated. And if you get caught, no, not caught means you're doing something bad, but if you got caught in the law, I think it can be quite costly.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Joshua, you are next.
Okay, thank you very much. So I posted my question on the page. I think it was missed. Let me just bring it up again. So as this to Prof, as someone who has been in innovation for some time, I want to know how you're able to start up your firm, breaking from the traditional approach of starting from the first degree to the PhD level, but you are starting from the doctoral degree to the and coming downwards. In terms of institutional barriers, how are you able to overcome that? And in terms of also getting the confidence of your customers, as your students, knowing very well you have not been in this for some years, how are you able to get students to believe in your brand and come on board? Thank you.
I'll take the first part first. The second part first. One of the things that we all have as individuals and human beings is our careers and our experience and our achievements. And I find it very surprising that sometimes we build businesses without actually branding ourselves in relation with the business. So what I have done is to use my experience, my achievements, actually to brand it. Because one of the things that you know from service marketing is that, particularly in services, customers cannot actually tell the quality and other things before they actually engage with the service, before they pay a deposit, for example, right? They can't. The only thing is that they can use is signals, and the signals are usually your experiences, your qualifications, your reputation, and other things. It's just like going to a doctor, right? If you go to a doctor, usually they have their certificates everywhere in their offices. What they are doing is to use that as signals to show that they are good quality, because when they put you on the table to operate, you never know what they're going to do. There's no way you can tell whether they're doing a good thing or bad thing. What you can do is to see their certificates and other things to say, oh, this is good, this one is bad. So that's the first one. That's how you trying to get people to accept your ideas as a business. The second part is the institutional barriers can be quite strong in any industry, particularly in education. And again, what you do is to show people that, you're doing something strange in their eyes, starting with a PhD or doctorate first, when you don't have even undergraduate institution, undergraduate program. So you have to then show, the capabilities and the facilities you built, right? So first you get alliances, which is very critical, to give you credibility. So when I engaged the National Accreditation Board, I had about 35 international professors on my list, all have signatures, letters telling me that they will support this, they want to work with me on this, right? So you show that you have credibility and you can do it, and that they should take a kind of a risk with you, right? That is the only way you can do it, because there are institutional, not only emotional barriers, because people have been in this industry for a long time. They said, how can you come and we are a big institution in Ghana, we don't even have a doctorate, and you want to start a doctorate, right? So those emotional kind of stumbling blocks, you need to overcome them by showing yourself and your model as credible.
Okay, thank you very much. We have barely 2 minutes, but I want to do this. We have one more hand, I think two, but I think we can take only one for now. And I also saw a question that I want to talk about. I really have to ask that question on the chat. And then the last thing is that the speakers will be given 1 minute each to round up. So kindly bear with us. On the screen right now, you can see pictures of Yas products. Yas, there's a question that says that my wife wants to be a distributor. How do I get in touch with you? We'll provide the number. Okay, so before Atuahene-Gima comes in, there's a question. The gentleman, where's the chat room? The gentleman said, I am a shy person. Oh gosh, I can't find this thing. Okay, I think I have it here. It says, good evening, Uncle David. Please, I want to ask a question. Since I'm shy and can't ask on the page, Prof said, don't look for money in startup business, but look for advice. Must the advice come from different resources or different people you think are doing well, or the person must be in your line of business? And then he went further to also say this. He said, do you need a mentor to start your business? So that's his question, Prof. If you can do that briefly, then we'll go to Atuahene-Gima, and then we can run that.
Absolutely, you always need a mentor, and you know, naturally people are willing to help people. People naturally want to support people, right? So it's the approach that is most important, you know. So that's why I say, if you need anything that, you know, people are going to dip their hands and in their pocket, you have to go for advice first. In other words, you're going for a mentorship, asking them to help you with your ideas and all that. When they feel that this is great, they will support you, sometimes with their own money. Is that okay? That's a question, right?
Thank you very much. And now, Atuahene-Gima, last question.
Yeah, Katakyie, thank you very much. My question is for Sister Mabel. She did a fabulous job, and I wanted to ask her, Sister, do you have any plans to do a franchise of your business that will help you to expand your business really, really quickly? And then, I mean, in terms of maybe letting it be available at several places and expand your income. Do you have any plan of doing that?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, I do. I have a lot of models in my mind, and indeed, my view also is to help the youth who are also looking for employment. So very soon you will see the branded aquatic food, especially with the kebab in most places. What we seek to do is to give the youth or anyone who is interested our branded items, anything, the grills and everything, and then we give you the sausage to do the business. So that is number one. So that in number one, we are going to go across, spread, and then number two, also give employment also to the youth. And then there are other things which we haven't yet finalized, so I will not be able to talk about that now. But of course, this is what I have in mind currently.
Excellent.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. But before we round up, I think it's only proper for us to give our special guests and speakers the opportunity.
Mr. Moderator, I had a question.
Parting words. I know, but we are cozy and we are run out of time. I sincerely apologize.
This is it's about communication, and it's to the Prof. I'm so sorry if I can get a chance.
Please go.
The best mode of communication as a business person.
The best what?
What's your question?
Communication. communication, mode of communication to your customers. What is the best way to communicate with your customers? Effective.
I think to me, the best way is face-to-face in COVID times on Zoom. But remember that it's not always good to have communication with your customers. This might surprise quite a number of you. But to me, another good way of communicating indirectly with your customers is observation, trying to observe what they do, follow them, and not talking to them, because you are likely to get a lot of ideas about their problems when you observe rather than talk to them, particularly things that they cannot imagine because they have no experience with it. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, so like I said,
thank you, Prof.
Prof.
Thank you.
Mabel, and then Katakyie, Brobbey. You have 1 minute to round up and then give us some very parting, concluding advice on what to do.
Ladies first.
Well, okay. I thought I started, so this time I'll be last. But let me go. It's been quite an experience. Very, very excited to be on this platform. I've learned a lot from Prof. I jotted them down, and I'm going to add that to my notes. I also want to say that most of the time we think that the white-collar job is the only thing for us. When I went into fish farming, I mean, people asked me, how can I venture into something reserved for men, because I was doing the fish farming itself. But I don't think anything, I mean, I'm limited to do anything because I'm a woman. So I will encourage, especially the women here, to come out. When I left the bank, I mean, I am more relaxed than when I used to be, because it got to a point where if I have to go to work in the morning, my BP goes up because I'm going to face a whole lot of challenges. I mean, carrying all the customers' problems on your head. So let's be bold in coming out. Let's do what we love doing, like Prof said. If you have the business idea, be passionate about it, and then move out. Yes, you face the challenges, but then if you have the determination. I like the way the last caller wanted to ask the question, and you said the time is up, but he insisted. And with that persistence, he was allowed to talk. So let us not give up easily, and move out and do what we love doing best. Thank you. It's been nice being on this platform, and I hope we'll have more interactions in future. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Katakyie, Brobbey.
All right, thank you. Katakyie, Osei. Thank you for this opportunity for me to share my experience, my journey, entrepreneurship. My advice: dream big, apply yourself to it. The Bible says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I've been able to do it. Any other person can also do it. It's just a matter of you working hard, apply yourself, do your bit, and leave the rest to God. You definitely get there. You'll be able to achieve whatever you set your heart on. That's my parting word.
Okay, thank you very much. We were trying unsuccessfully to show Katakyie Brobbey's office. He has a huge, beautiful office on the Jolu, going to Accra Girls School. I think that it's called the Alliance, Lexter Alliance, huge facility. I'm sure he's even happy I'm not showing it. He's so modest sometimes. Okay, Prof, before you come, there's a message here from one of our prominent Katakyie, is from SP Alex Hagan. He says, Prof, since you missed the chance to attend Opoku High School, we at Katakyie unequivocally make you an honorary Katakyie. You have all the qualities to become one of us. You are too cool. And I want to add that, Prof, if you are going to Opoku High, okay, I don't want to add that one. You would have been first in everything.
Okay. Yeah.
So, Prof,
It's a long story.
Last words to us.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think I want to add to my two fellow speakers to thank you very, very much for inviting us to this forum. It's been a great experience. My last parting kind of comment is that, you know, always try and have some kind of aim, not for yourself, really, not for yourself, but for society, for the next generation, you know, so that you can, that aim would drive you always onto success. That's the key. You know, for example, just quick example, my aim with setting up NIBS is to have executives across Africa who have doctorates, meaning they can do research and make evidence-based decisions and become a forum like this. And they all have these qualities. And they will be able to be like a think tank to support society, to give ideas, to comment, to criticize and do that. That's my aim. I may not see it in my lifetime, maybe 20, 40 years from now, but that is the one that drives me on. And what the last thing I would say is that in doing all these things as an entrepreneur, you know, you have to have modesty, be modest, simple, and humble. If you have these three things, people will bend backwards to support you. Thank you.
Thank you. On that, so let me end by reading the 2-3 comments. You are great, Prof. I'm learning a lot. Trust me, Prof. Please, is this recording going to be on YouTube? We had a recording, we'll share it later on. Thanks, Mabel, an insightful and informative panelist. And then the part that I really want to stress, like Prof said, you all come across as very humble. I'm sure that makes you successful. Thanks. This has been a very educative section. Prof, we should give Prof a school number. Okay, we'll get him a school number, no problem, no problem. For those of you, everybody in Opoku has a school number, and it's a very simple system. I don't need to know you, just mention your school number. I can take you to your house, take you to your class, show you to your house and everything. So we are unique. We are the only school in Ghana that has that.
Interesting.
Also, one of our big men joining us, Katakyie Joy, presidential candidate, Joy. Presidential candidate in the previous. Joy, welcome. Okay, so on this note, I'd like to thank everybody immensely for being part of this program. We've gone beyond the time planned for this, but I sincerely apologize. Again, I think it was worth it because we're learning. This particular platform is quite different from the previous ones, where we had people only just speaking about on topics. We have people sharing their experience, their entrepreneurial life experience, and this one is very deep and all that. Sometimes you have to give a lot of time to be able to see all the things they have to say. And then Prof also ran us through the basics that we know of entrepreneurship and all that. So this particular one seems to be a bit different. And the feedback I'm getting now is that there should be a part 2, there should be a part 3. Yes, we'll look at it and then we'll come back. So we want to thank everybody. I think when I looked at the member, we got about 157. That is not bad, quite impressive. And it means that all the speakers selected did justice to their presentation. We are very grateful. On behalf of the planning committee led by Katakyie Frank Mafo and Aole Kyoko, we are so grateful for all the things you've done. And we are grateful, Prof, Mabel, and Katakyie Brobbey for agreeing at this short notice to be part of this. We hope there will be a part 2 very soon. We do this monthly. And for those who join, let me quickly say that there's a platform for Opoku Ayo Boys Association and St. Louis Power Students Association. We come together every month, we take up one topic and then we digest it. We have 3 different seminars. This one is a business forum. We have the health forum, and then we have the IT forum. So if you are interested for other program, we'll still let you know. So once again, thank you everybody for being part of this program. Prof, Mabel, and Katakyie, God bless you immensely, and we hope to see you at that time. Cheers. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Prof. Bye, Prof. Bye, Prof.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
So proud of you. You just,
thank you. Thank you.
So special. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay,
thank
so
you.
for those who may be interested, I think Prof didn't talk